which just came out. I just finished a book tour with that, and Jody and I met Jody through my daughter, who's taking acting classes with Jody, and I've come from the writing side and film and television, and Jody's come from the acting side, and I think we're both big believers in the fact that actors should understand what writers and directors do, and directors and writers should understand what actors do, and looking at that whole picture of the business and how if you understand all sides of it, you can be better at what you do.
That leads me, you both live in the Mercer County area.
Yes.
You can actually find you in the phone book, which I found interesting. I thought I'd be afraid these days. And
No, regular guys,
And now, not only are you professionally talented and successful, you want to bring that to a summer camp. Can you explain this concept?
Yeah, I started the JW Actor Studio about 6 years ago, and I never thought in a million years I would do something like that. It just kind of happened organically. But anyway, the last number of years kept getting more and more students and that sort of thing. And I
It's at the Forestall Village in...
Yeah, it's at the Princeton Forestall Village, and we do some classes over at the Princeton Arts Council of Princeton, excuse me. And, but anyway, I wanted to try these different things with the kids, because the philosophy that I wanted to bring to this area was the professional approach to acting and how professionals approach it, and the way I was trained in New York. And really, it's simply just to behave and speak truthfully and honestly in the imaginary circumstances. That's what I wanted to bring here, instead of just pretending or acting, for lack of a better word, but just to really fully be and behave on stage. And another aspect that I wanted to bring in was having the kids write their own plays. I got this idea from a theater company up in upstate New York, where the kids write their own plays, and 10 of them are picked, and they all put them on. They direct and act in them.
So an
and
organic
everything.
approach. They
Yeah.
about the characters.
They create the
Right.
the writers write it. We're taking a little bit of a different approach, where we're going to start our camp. It's called Empower Play. It's going to be starting in August. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
August 6th through 17th, and here in Princeton.
Princeton Montessori School
Princeton Montessori School.
on Cherry Hill Road.
Yeah, and the Great Road. Little bit of a different concept. We're going to have the kids start off by doing some brainstorming and some improvisational exercises to come up with the idea, some concepts for what they may write. And once we get through that process, then Kevin will take over.
Yeah, and I think this is really important in that a lot of kids and a lot of people in general think of writing as this, you lock yourself in a room and where do the ideas come from, and they look at it as almost mystical.
It is. I think it is. These people are beyond me. They have more intelligence than I do. They're creative, and they're monks.
And
they do the solitude thing.
And everybody is a writer. Everybody is creative. I mean, if you can get up and do improv, if you have any type of imagination at all, people edit themselves too much, and they start off with, oh, wait, that's not a great idea. So if you start from the idea of improv and you just throw it out there and you're having fun, that's true creativity. You start with having fun. You don't necessarily need to edit yourself right away. So start with the brainstorming. Improv is brainstorming for a play. I mean, it's the basis of writing. You get up there, you start, you see if it works. If it works, you put it down on paper. When it becomes fixed, it becomes writing. But to lead the kids through that process of improv and then say, okay, now what you've done with the improv, let's put some structure to it. Let's give it a beginning, a middle, and end. Let's develop those characters a little
constructive
more.
criticism so much.
Right, and it's like workshopping a play, but you start from the acting part of it, and then you bring it to the writing part. And it becomes organic, and it grows on its own. And at the end, they'll suddenly realize, wow, we wrote this. And in reality, what they did is they acted it, and then they formalized it a little bit more. So
Well,
it's a great
that
process.
leads into, I guess, putting you somewhat on the spot. Talk about it, but put it into action. You think you could do a little improv here with Leela?
Yeah, well, we happen to have a young actress here, so
I
why
can get
not,
out of the way if you wish.
Okay, no problem. And we talked a little bit about this before in the green room, and the basic concept of improvisation is to really, really listen, and as we talked about, to really listen honestly and truthfully, and to be what they call in the moment. You can't think ahead, you can't plan anything. You need to be fully alive in each moment. And you need to add to ideas. Like Kevin said earlier, you want to always take that idea, hey, that's a great idea, let me add this to it. So there's a game, the foundation, I believe, of improvisation is a game called Yes and, where you start off with a statement and you keep adding information to that. For example, this floor is brown. Yes, and it looks very old. Yes, and I understand this building was, so that sort of thing. So maybe we can just do a little bit of that, and then I want to ask you a question, and you can just go to town with it, okay? So let's start with a statement. It's, this Sunday is April Fool's Day.
Yes. and that's my mom's birthday.
Yes, and that must be a fun day to have a birthday on.
Yes, we play Yes, and we play lots of jokes on her.
Yes, and I'm sure she must have seen them all.
Yes, and last year she had an exploding cake.
Yes, and I'm sure that was really good for her complexion.
Yes, and now her face is smooth.
Yes, and maybe you're onto something, and that's $1 million idea, buttercream makeup.
Yes, and I actually tried that.
Yes, and you know that buttercream is also very good for your eyes.
Yes, and
It
it's
doesn't always have to be true, by the way.
Yes, and it's tasty.
Yes, and tasty things make eating much more pleasurable.
Yes, and I love to eat.
Yes, and eating is a very essential thing to living.
Yes, and my dog eats my cat's chicken.
Yes. Okay, now that's the basic premise of that. Now I'm going to ask you a question. You can just go to town with this. This is a game we called What Did You Do When? We do this in a lot of our classes. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, and you just tell us. What did you do when you walked in your room and you saw that unicorn sitting there?
Well, what I did was I told it to fly. So it started flying and flying and flying, and soon our house was on Mars.
Wow.
Yeah. So the unicorn took me back here, and I walked it around the block. And I went to the pet store,
Yeah.
and I bought it a collar because it was getting loose too much.
What did
and
the pet store guy say when he saw the unicorn?
He fainted.
Oh, great. I'm sure he did.
And so what happened was I was walking around town,
Mm-hmm.
and people just started staring at me because I had a pet unicorn.
Oh, not
He
surprising.
started getting loose before I bought the collar and the leash, and eating people's
Don't say it.
jewelry.
Jewelry. So that's how they stay so magical. They
Yes.
eat jewelry. That's how they survive?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So my unicorn was very, very hungry. So I took my mom's jewelry box and dumped it in her mouth. Now, this morning, my unicorn was gone, and it found another unicorn on Mars
Well,
with
there you go.
another house.
So there is life on Mars.
Yes, there is.
There you go. There you have it.